But we signed a contract with her. And when we signed a contract with her, that really catapulted us to the next level. We were able to have consistent cash flow. All right, guys, what's going on? It is Mrcllutch here on the Moving Forward Pod. And today, we've got a very special podcast that I'm going to be going over with you guys. All right, so I'm going to be going over and breaking down my business journey in the moving industry. We're going to go ahead and start off all the way from the very beginning, which happened in 2018, all right, all the way to now, which is 2024, and what we're going to do is we're going to break down at every single year what my setup was and what were some of the key factors that helped me get to the next level. So we're going to be breaking it down in segments on each year, okay? We're going to be talking about, number one, key employees. Number two, the operational setup. Number three, a key factor that helped me grow and get to that next level. And then the final part is the breakthrough moment that happened that got me and my business to the next level. All right, so let's go ahead and get straight into it. Now, so my story in the moving industry was that I started in the moving industry in 2017. The company was actually founded in 2017. I was the actual investor at first in the moving company. At that time I had one business partner. So the company started in 2017. That's when it was incorporated. What happened was I had a buddy of mine, and he was talking about, there's money in the moving industry. He actually was in, he was in a service-based industry. He was actually doing plumbing at the time. And he had reached out to me and said, hey, there's money in service industries. At that time, I was working at a tax firm. So I had licensed out a tax firm at that time when he had reached out to me. And he said, it's going to be a good idea to open a moving company. You're going to make a whole bunch of money doing this. It's junk removal, it's moving, it's hauling. We didn't really know what we were doing at the time, but we kind of went into it head first. So in 2017 in the company, me and my buddy, we went out and started a moving company. In 2017, I had purchased the company's first 3 trucks, right? And when I purchased the company's first 3 trucks, we didn't really do anything right off the bat. The main first thing was we're just going to go ahead and get the first truck. We didn't have a business plan. We didn't have anything of that sort. We went straight out on a limb. We didn't even get one truck. We had the idea of getting one truck, but when I went over to U-Haul, I had purchased and got approved for 3 trucks, which was, looking back at it, it was a pretty stupid idea. It was a bad idea. That was one of the pitfalls that had happened right from the very beginning in business. But now looking back at it, I wouldn't have traded it any other way because it's taught me how to grow. It's taught me how to scale. It's taught me how to be more manageable with my finances and business. So that's kind of what happened within that first year. So 2017, company got incorporated in 2017 of August. And then from 2017 to 2018, we really had no motion, right? I was still working at a tax firm. My buddy still had a full-time job. And we literally parked the trucks at wherever we could park them. At that point, we didn't know where to park the trucks at all. We were parking the trucks in residential areas for maybe about a month or two, and we were stacking tickets up. At this time, we didn't have registration. We didn't have anywhere to park the trucks. We had no insurance. So realistically, we were driving these trucks illegally and parking them illegally. It wasn't until about 2 to 3 months after us getting a bunch of tickets was that we found out that there was a city, which is a commercial where people park all their commercial trucks, which was in South San Francisco. We went ahead and we started parking our trucks there about 2 to 3 months later, and we had a tons of tickets that we had stacked up. And that was probably in the beginning of 2018. And then from there, we still had no business. What we were trying to do was trying to get business. We didn't know if we wanted to take the junk removal route. We didn't know if we wanted to take the last final mile logistics route, or if we wanted to go to the moving route. Okay, this was 2018. And again, none of us was really in the business. The only person that was in the business was my business partner at the time. And from there, we were going ahead and posting and on Craigslist. And that was the only type of marketing that we were doing. And again, it was hauling, junk removal, and I was in the process of trying to kind of look for a route with logistics. So from 2018 to 2019, the company probably only did maybe $50,000, if that, in revenue. Okay, and then at that point, there was no key employees. The key employee was my business partner at the time and one or two friends that would just help him whenever the jobs went ahead and got done, right? In our operational setup, we had 3 trucks, and we didn't have any type of setup. The whole thing was we get a job, we put it on our cell phone, we book it, we try to go ahead and service it, and then go from there. So really no operational setup there. And then our key factor to growth from 2017 to 2018 was really just posting on Craigslist. There was no ways to look on how to personally develop and get the business to the next level. Again, none of us were in the moving industry, and none of us knew how to run a business. So we were just out on a limb trying to figure it out, not knowing what to do. I think at that point, because I was the initial investor at the time, I was losing thousands of dollars a month because we had to get our insurance to drive the trucks. We had to get our general liability. And then we also had to get our workers' comp. And then we had truck payments. So at that point where I'm losing money, the business is losing money. So the breakthrough moment on there was not even a breakthrough moment. It was a realization moment where it was like, holy shit, I'm losing thousands of dollars a month and the business is not generating any money. Okay. Then we fast forward to 2018 to 2019. Okay. At that point, we were almost figuring everything out, and we kind of figured out which route we wanted to go to. At that point, we figured out the best route to go through was junk removal and the moving industry. So we had another partner that came in at that time, and his name, he was one of our bigger investors, and he was in real estate as well too. And it was me, my investor, and then my business partner at the time. He had came to us because he wanted to put his face on the truck, and he said he was going to give us an investment to do that, and then we're just going to go ahead and move forward from there. But he didn't want to go ahead and do that. We just said, okay, let's just go ahead and wrap the trucks. Let's get some branding on there, and that's what we did. So we figured out our lane. We figured out where we want to go to. We started posting more on Craigslist, and then we're getting more jobs that way. He was a realtor, so he was referring us some business. And then we started advertising and paying for, I believe at that time it was Yelp. So, we probably from 2018 to 2019, company grew to about $100,000 in revenue. At that time, again, I had my tax firm. My business partner at the time he had a full-time job. And then our other business partner, who was an investor, he was a full-time real estate agent. So as you can see, there was nobody that took the lead and was able to steer the ship. It was just whenever the jobs came in, whoever was available. I never did the job. My investor never did the job. Only person that would do the job was my business partner, who would go ahead and try to service the job with some friends, etc. Okay. Then the operational setup on there, we had, again, no operational setup. All it was we had us, and whenever a job came in, text, call a friend, come help us out. We're only running one truck maybe 2 to 3 days out of the week, and we still have these other 2 trucks, in total 3 trucks, but we're only really running 1 truck a week, right? So we should be trying to figure out how to get more business, but we weren't, because none of us were really focused on the business. We're just trying to focus on our daily lives, and we're focusing on trying to stay afloat and paying these bills. At that point, one of the key factors of growth from 2018 to 2019, I think, was when we did a job. We had a job that probably came off of Craigslist. And when it came off of Craigslist, it was a bigger job. And I think that customer paid about $3,000 for this job. And I was like, oh my God, there's some money in the moving industry. But that was a one-off job. And from then on, I kind of was like, wow, people want to pay this much money for a move. And not to mention that we were barely charging anything back then. So somebody to pay $3,000 for a move, I was like, there may be some opportunity in here. And later on in the year, I think it was, kind of coming closer to the wintertime. Summertime was decent for us. Maybe had the truck on the road for 3 to 4 days a week. And then wintertime came, and I didn't know nothing about the industry. So when the wintertime came, we had no jobs. We had no leads coming in. We didn't have any money saved. I was losing money on truck payments. Again, I was losing money on insurances. And at that point, I was like, man, my business partners at the time were not helping me out at all. And I felt a little bit annoyed, because none of us took the step on leading forward to really try to take this company to the next level and get the bills paid. They always say that the first 3 years of a business is basically the survival of a business, because it's the hardest 3 years to get through if you're running a business. It was super hard for us because we didn't know anything about the moving industry. So from 2019, from that time, from 2019, I had got rid of my 2 business partners and went out on a limb, and I started doing the things on my own. So that was the end of 2019. Now from 2019 to 2020, I was on my own. I got a new business partner at the time, and we really set up some processes and then some procedures to kind of get the business more of a foundation from there. Okay, so 2019 to 2020, the company did $700,000. So that was a big step for us to really get the ball rolling. At that time, we really had a lot of the trucks on the road, and we had key employees that really had the business cranking. So one of the key employees was me, myself. I was dispatch, sales, I was customer service, I was all the above. My business partner at the time, he was sales as well too, but I was running everything else. I was running the day-to-day, I was running the operations, scheduling, and everything. At that point, we had no CRM, and it was, everything was with text and with calendar and trying to stay as organized as possible. And then I had 1 or 2 key drivers that I found off of Craigslist in the moving industry that really helped us stay consistent with the business and the quality of service, because we knew that every time we put these 2 guys on who had moving experience, we knew that they would do a good job. So that's how the operational setup really looked like. And then my key factor to growth during that time was Yelp. I remember at that time we were paying Yelp maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and when we're paying them $4,000 or $5,000 a month, we were getting a bunch of leads that were coming in. And I had built out a very simple template. Looking back at it now, it wasn't a effective template, but now knowing the things that I do know, but the template was a very simple template. Do you have stairs? Do you have this? Do you have that? Anything that would kind of affect the hourly rate, I would send that in a text message to them and then book them right off of Yelp. I did a decent job of it, had, some pretty decent bookings, but, that Yelp account, everybody, that used Yelp in the past can say that Yelp was really good back then until they changed the algorithm, they changed this and they changed that. So that was one of the huge key factors for me getting to that next level, And then what happened after that was a breakthrough moment, right? This was one of my breakthrough moments that gave me the foundation that I have until today. So me, myself, I'm always looking to grow, always looking to really, whatever it is, whether it's athletics, business, finance, whatever it is, I always want to figure out what it is to help me get to the next level. And I was typing in on Google how to grow or how to run a successful moving company. Typed that in, found his name was at the time Louis Massaro. He was in the moving industry in the past. And, he grew this company. His story was online, and he was a coach to all of moving companies. And he had a bunch of YouTube videos. And I also bought his course. His course was a sales course, a $3,000 sales course that took my business and took myself to the next level. I watched that. I seen that. I understood how the process worked. And he had a step-by-step process on how to really, figure out your sales process. In his YouTube videos, I was looking at how to be a dispatcher, how to do this, how to do that. And I was like, holy shit, I am running all of these positions by myself. And I was doing it, but I just realized that I was running multiple positions myself. So, and in that year, I was about a 7x growth from 100,000 to 700,000. So there was a lot of more of my time that was invested into the moving company. So I got rid of the tax firm, and I was like, I can actually grow this company because there's money to be made here. And at that time, again, I'm only running 3 trucks, and I had probably maybe 6 to 8 movers, and then me, and then my business partner. So that was a really trying year because the growth that was that happened and was possible was eye-opening. So boom. Then we go into 2020 to 2021. Okay, that year, a lot of things happened, right? So with that year, I had a couple of things that happened, which was, first thing was, me and my new business partner, we split up. He went to go open up his own moving company, and I stayed in my moving company. And then also, my investor that we parted ways with in 2019 came back into the business. Okay, and he really helped me and scale my company, and was really the finance behind growing that company from then. In that year, I did $1.4 million in revenue. That was the year where COVID had happened. And then COVID happened, and we're shut down for about a month. And we still was able to grow drastically because we know after COVID, everybody went ahead and started moving, right? So my key employees at that time, because I was really trying to scale the company, I had hired a VP of operations. So she was a huge key to helping me get to that next level. She had experience. She was a little bit older, so she had more experience with people. She had experience with processes, with insurances. She had all that back-end knowledge and experience. And she was able to help me run the crews and manage the business on a day in and day out basis, when I was able to focus on my strong point, which was sales. So it's really just me and her on the back end. And then also at the same time, I hired a sales rep who was a virtual assistant in the Philippines who was awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. She was huge to my success as well too in growing the business. So 2020, 2021, three key employees, my VP of Ops, myself, and then my sales rep on the back end to take in some of the calls that I wasn't able to take in. And we were moving and grooving. As far as the operations side, we had, I think, we had three drivers that were very, very loyal to us that would always we'd always go ahead and give them work. And then from there, we actually purchased two more trucks because we seen some growth and there was, able to service all these jobs. We needed to get more trucks and we didn't want to rent from budget anymore. And then one of the key factors to growth from that year was we went ahead and we signed a contract with one of the biggest stagers in Northern California. I'll give you some perspective on how big she actually was. She actually staged the governor's house of California. And she staged a lot of huge houses where she was from. I think the biggest house that we staged, and she referred us to move them as well too, was the founder of WeWork, one of the founders of WeWork. And their house, I think at the time, was about $28 million. Huge house. They didn't even live at the house, but they just had a house, and it was huge. Hey guys, if you really like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. This will help the channel grow drastically. Share this to 5 different people that you think can benefit from it. Now back to the video. Consistent business and work for the guys. Game changer. And we still work with her today. But it was a game changer because we really got consistent business and we were really able to call ourselves a company because we're able to give guys work and we're able to give guys consistent hours. So not only on a business side, but also on a confidence side to be able to say, wow, we've got a business going here and we are able to provide a service. And she was happy with our service for all those years. So we've done good business with her for all those years. Now, here's my breakthrough moment for that year. It's not a good thing. On a better note, what it was I fired a key driver. And it was a breakthrough moment for me because what it taught me was that in order to grow my company to the next level, I had to do some things that I felt uncomfortable with. And the reason why I went ahead and fired him was because he was a bad fit for the culture. He actually found that contract for me with that stager on Craigslist. And when he found that contract for me, he felt like he was entitled. I gave him a bonus, but he felt like he was entitled to many more and other things in the company, which didn't sit well with me. I gave him this bonus, and maybe I should have had different terms on there with letting him know this is how it works and everything like that. But again, I was so new to business. I really didn't know how everything worked on that end, but I still gave him, I think at that time, a $500 bonus. But after that, he felt way more entitled. So I said, gave you all these chances. It's time to go. So went ahead and fired him. But what that taught me was, what got you there won't get you to that next level. And it was eye-opening because as soon as I left and fired him, the company grew. So let's go on now to 2021 to 2022. Biggest year thus far. Well, biggest year within the time frame. So 2021, 2022, we really scaled, really took the business to the next level. As you guys know, it was basically a huge jump because of COVID. Interest rates went down. People had tons of money. People were getting money from everywhere, the government, you name it. Everybody was buying houses, selling houses. It was a frenzy. So there was money everywhere. And what happened was I scaled the company to 2.6 million that year. And I think I did it, looking back at it, I did it very, very recklessly. I had purchased a bunch of trucks, hired people, and purchased equipment, thinking that this money is going to keep lasting and this company is growing because I've done this. I've focused on so many things and everything is starting to pour into me. And I was like, wow, this is easy. This is easy work. And I thought I was the best owner, the best CEO that there was. And, I thought it was just going to last. I thought it was going to last and I thought it was going to keep going. And then from there, we had, I'm trying to think how many key employees we had. We had me again. I was basically sales, but also more so as a GM. I hired my first estimator. And then from there, I had my VP of Ops. And then under my VP of Ops, we had our dispatcher. And under my dispatcher, we had a warehouse manager. So that's at 2.6 million. And what do I mean that we scaled too fast? We got into we're in a new warehouse that, we didn't even know how to fill up. We didn't even use the warehouse to its full capacity. We didn't even have storage in there. Also, we probably ordered and bought 4 trucks, right? We probably bought 4 trucks and thinking that the company was just going to keep growing at this ridiculous rate. And then from there, we had hired the dispatcher. We had hired the estimator. We had done just all that right off the bat. And with that came a learning curve. And since we had no real processes put in play, they weren't as good as salespeople as I was. They weren't as good as running the day-to-day as my VP of Ops. So, we were just hiring and trying to get them up to speed as fast as possible. Not really any training, just throwing them out there and just really trying to make things stick. Come to find out, it was a rude awakening. Nothing stuck. Now, the operational setup was exactly how I said it was, but I had more so processes set in play, like, we did confirmation calls, we did anything that was 2 bedrooms and over would go to the estimator. So we had some very set standard processes. Our team would go out there and they do a walkthrough, they'd go ahead and get their signatures and everything like that. And that was more so the operational setup. Again, nothing set in stone. So one of the key factors to growth during that time was, I think at that time, one of the key factors was I had my coach at that time, and I was going to seminars, which was Louis Massaro. Heck, it helped me out. And then another key factor was I was just paying for so many ads. And then, of course, COVID money. That was one of the key factors to growth. And then my next moment, my breakthrough moment that really got me to the next level in that 2.6 million year, I think it was when we had a customer, and that was still going to be the biggest move that we've ever done. That move was an $85,000 move. And it really opened my eyes for somebody to pay that much money for a move. And I was like, holy shit. $85,000? You are a madman. But, he was a hoarder and he was very happy to pay the money. No problem. Just get all my stuff from point A to point B. But what that did was really put some capital for the business during that time, right? And it was like let's reinvest all this money, put it back into the business. And that was a key contributing factor to reinvest into ads, etc., new truck, everything. So that was a key factor to that growth during that year. And then my breakout moment for that year, I want to say, was probably that job. That job was really a breakout moment. It opened my eyes in so many ways. It opened my eyes where it was like, we can hire this many people and we can give them work. You know, being a small business, I thought you only have, 10 to 15 employees. At one point, I had a whole business of, like, in that year, I think at most I had 40 to 50 people, maybe at that time. And, one of the busiest days in summer, that's how many people we dispatched. And I was like, wow, this is insane. And I was like, we can keep growing and we'll keep growing this business. So it was eye-opening. I didn't think I could ever run a business or that much people, that many personalities and everything like that all at one time. But, as you grow, as you scale, you really understand that it just, the processes really come into play. So that was a really fun, tough year because of growth. So we had a lot of growing pains, is what somebody would call it. Then we come into 2022 to 2023 year. Okay. This was probably one of the hardest. This is probably the hardest year that I've had because of all of the things that transpired in that year. Let's start off with COVID. Was basically coming out of COVID, and there was less people moving. There was interest rates going up. There was houses not being sold, inflation, and everything along those lines. The media was scaring everybody. It was scaring me. What happened, which was, I look back at it now, was I decreased my prices during that time because I was scared that people were not going to move. Also, in this year, I had a couple of other things that happened. I had fired my VP of operations. I had fired my dispatcher for stealing money from me. And then my other dispatcher got taken to jail in my office. They took him personally out of my office, took him to jail, and he's still in jail until then. And at the end of that year, I was basically all by myself with one estimator and me. That's pretty much all I had during that time, which was a very, very scary moment. Now, let's go ahead and break that down real quick. Reason why I had to get rid of my VP of operations was because she wasn't a fit for the business anymore. At that time, she had a lot of things going outside of work that was really affecting her performance. I loved her. She was a really, really great person. But I had to get rid of her in order for me to grow as a person and as a business. Not to mention, she was a 10% equity owner. She vested over time. I just bought her out. And, it took some time, took some legalities, but I went ahead and bought her out. Second person, as soon as my VP of operations left, I had promoted my dispatcher to operations manager. Here's what happened. I wish I would have caught these things earlier, but, some things came to light. First thing was, she was being inappropriate with some of our employees. Very funny, I know. Second was she ended up stealing $30,000 worth of gas from me and then another $10,000 worth of checks from me. So a $40,000 loss. And then she lied, saying she was going to leave the company because she wanted to go back to school. But what I came to find out was she went to another moving company because she had stolen all these things from me. I want to say that was a blessing in disguise because what it taught me was to tighten up, get my finances, and get my KPIs in track so I know exactly what I should be looking at. But again, I was just so focused on the business and so focused on trying to maintain the business because I scaled too fast and really wasn't looking there, and I got hit. So boom, she left, and then I had promoted a foreman to become my dispatcher and operations, and then he was there for about a month and a half, really getting settled in, and then he was taken away by the police. Another scary situation. But at the end of the year, I was left by myself. So it taught me a lot during that year. It taught me a lot of perseverance, really get through, because I know at the end of that year of 2023, I was saying, fuck this, screw this. I want to go ahead and do something else because I didn't want to go ahead and move forward with it. And I just thought that, man, there's got to be a better way. But during that time, my coach really helped me out and really walked me through the process and got me through the end of that year. So my key employees for that year, again, for the first part of the year, was my VP of Ops, my dispatcher, estimator, and then that's pretty much who I had. But I got rid of everybody by the end of that year. Not to mention, I had 2 estimators in that year, and I got rid of my other estimator in that year as well too. So really, it was me and my other estimator coming into 2023. But my operational setup was pretty much the same from that year, 2022 to 2023. Nothing really changed. Only real thing that really changed was getting my warehouse in order and really starting to utilize my warehouse. During that time, I had decreased my prices because I was scared that nobody was going to book because of what the media was saying. And then I still focused on residential, but I was really kind of getting my foot in the door through commercial. So I really put a big focus on commercial during that time, which is interior designers, commercial projects, working directly with realtors. So I really kind of set up my operation a little bit different, because what happened was that since there was less residential people moving, I had to figure out a different niche to target. Now, one of my key factors to growth during that year was, again, working on the commercial side because residential went down drastically. And it was really good that happened, right? Because it helped us last year as well too. And now it is helping us grow this year. The breakthrough moment that I had with that year was basically making the hardest decision in the business at that time, was firing my VP of operations. She was almost like a best friend, older sister to me. And when we're on the phone, it was tough conversation. She cried. I want to say I almost cried, but I didn't. I kept it really, really strong and had the conversation really, really straightforward with her. And she understood, but she felt that we took advantage of her. But, there's different perspectives of the story, but I want to say that was the hardest breakthrough, because you had to put all the feelings aside and you had to do whatever you needed to do in order for your business to grow, right? And I always hear that a lot and get that a lot from people where they say, oh, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes for my business to grow. I'll do whatever it takes to do this, to do that. Will you really? I fired, I had to fire my VP of operations that year. I had to take over the company and run everything by myself, roll up my sleeves and get the company back to the next level. I had to, come out of pocket during that winter time to cover a lot of expenses because we didn't make any money during the summer. I had to do it all. I had to do everything all. And I really told myself that, if I get through this year, I'm going to get through anything else. So that was one of the hardest years that I had. Now, This is coming in now to 2023 to 2024. Mind you, in 2023, I didn't have anybody there for me. All I had was myself, and I didn't have a dispatcher. I didn't have anything. All I had was an estimator at the time. So my coach at the time told me that I needed to fire my estimator because he was a part of that old culture. So right into the new year, I made two big things. I hired an operations manager in that beginning of that year, and then I also fired my estimator. So 2023 to 2024, we did $2.7 million. Increased, right? We increased the revenue, and we had a smaller team. My 2023 to 2024 year was a refoundation and a restructuring of the whole year. I got back into the business. I started doing estimates. I started helping out and really putting back the pieces to the business to really get the business back and running how I wanted it to. The first years were good growth, but I think that the years from 2021 to 2023 of 2 years, those were years of learning. Those were years of being able to see growth, but also to be able to scale back and be able to say that these are things that I know aren't real, and being able and mature and smart enough to say that these are learning lessons. I think during those 2 years, I was probably barely profitable because of the growth that we had and the growing pains. But 2023 to 2024, it was literally me and my operations manager as the key employees. We tried hiring some front office staff, but they didn't work out. But I forgot to mention we also had a warehouse manager that really helped out with our operations as well too. And then on the back end team, we had, I think, 3 people, or about 3 to 4 people in our call center that was really focusing on business development growth, which was our interior designers and realtors. We were cold calling. We were doing all types of campaigns to really grow that side of the business. During that year, our operational setup, again, we were focused solely on business development growth. We had laid out KPIs for almost every single department, and I was really focused on really creating a foundation for the business. My whole thought process was, I need to get this business where it's running without me and growing without me. So that was one of the main things that I set forth on really how to, get the business running. And then one of the key factors of growth was having those KPIs and being able to manage off of numbers instead of manage off of feelings. And then we had interior designers that really helped us grow, that were giving us projects. I think that year we had a project that was like a $150,000 project. It was an ongoing project, and it ended up coming out to about $150,000. Now, a breakthrough moment for that year was at the end of the year. I looked at everything and I said, wow. I said, we really knocked it out, did more revenue with less people in the office and less people to deal with, and we still grew. And we increased our rates at the end of the year as well. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. We were able to basically increase revenue with a smaller staff and, still grow. It just showed how different a culture and how different an effective person can be on a business, and what bad culture and toxic people can bring down a business. So that was a breakthrough moment during that year. Now, took that momentum from that year, okay, from what is that, 2023 to 2024, took that momentum and rolled it into 2024. Building out the processes, we had then from that year, 2024, a couple big changes. New operations manager, a very, very good on-site estimator that was very reliable, built out a stronger outbound sales team, really focused on the sales team for my inbound calling. So really focused on two areas, which was our sales, then also our processes. So 2024, we're now in April 17th of 2024. We are on pace for $4 million in revenue. Okay, year over year, from January, February, March, we're 80% year over year, and then for February, 60%. January, I believe we were 70%. One of the main reasons that we are crushing our year over year and on pace for 4 million, I had set that goal in the beginning of the year, and I think this year we should be able to hit that goal. One of the main reasons was because we increased our prices by about, now since we're in April from last year, we increased our prices about 40%. And we're still getting bookings. The reason why I think we're able to get those bookings is because we had created these campaigns in the past, and we really focused on our brand and our brand awareness and really building relationships with realtors and real estate firms, so they don't even second guess our pricing. They care about the brand and they care about the trust and we're going to take care of these clients versus what the price is. They value our services versus valuing the price, which has been crazy effective. Very, very effective on there. And I owe a lot of that to our back-end sales team because they're doing all day is cold calling. So right now, our key employees, me, I'm GM, got the operations manager, warehouse manager, on-site estimator. Now we have 7 people in our call center that is just crushing it. We have our claims adjuster, HR. We have our inside sales rep, outside sales rep, call center manager. We have our account manager for the warehouse. And then we have a executive assistant to all of those people in the call center. And then our operational setup is the same how it was the past 2 years. You know, we're going to hire another person as far as dispatcher. But we are focusing this year, now that interest rates, interest rates went back up to 7%, but we're focusing still on commercial, interior designers, realtors, offices, but residential has increased, so it's adding more revenue back into our pocket. Once interest rates drop, I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be back to how it was 3 years ago when COVID hit and interest rates were at an all-time low. The key factors to growth during this year, it's got to be increasing the rates. I'm looking at the end of the month and I'm looking at a week-over-week basis. There's money in the bank. There's a lot of money in the bank because of the increase of the cost. And, customers are paying it. And then I think for this year, one of the breakthrough moments so far is being able to be around high-performing individuals. So now I'm really big on social media, and it's attracted more of a crowd for me. And not too long ago, I went to a moving company event, and from there, I met with some really big business owners doing 20 million, 10 million, 5 million in revenue, and it opened my eyes for growth. It made me say, it's possible. It's possible to get to that next level. It's possible to do what these other people are doing. They're not Superman. They're regular human beings that were addicted to growth and addicted to getting to that next level. So that was a breakthrough moment for me for this year. So I can't wait to see what we finish at the end of this year, because I just feel like the ball is rolling. Our goal for this year is to get the processes in play, and then by the end of the year, get into another location and really scale it from there, and being able to get the company to another level the next year. I want to be in 2-3 locations by next year. So there you have it. My journey from the founding days all the way up to now. Stephen Mandak, aka Mrcllutch, on the Moving Forward podcast. I'm going to shoot another podcast at the end of the year so you guys can know where I finished off. Thank you guys. Speak to you soon.